at the Forsberg's happy hour, I did get this wooden boat magazine, and it's got the various drills. And one of the drills was man overboard, and then the other one was getting back on the boat, getting somebody back on the boat. And so when I first got my boat, the Charles Edward, the chart plotter was kind of still a mystery how it all operated. So we ran aground and weren't worried. It was low tide. But I thought, let's do one of these drills. So I jumped overboard, and I had my inflatable life jacket, and it did inflate, and that worked well. And then I was in the water for a while, and I said, I'm getting hypothermic. So they tossed me the life ring, and it had a line on it, and I put my arms through it. And then I said, I'm losing sensations in my legs. I'm losing sensations in my arms. And so they pulled me in, but they couldn't bring me up the steps. I'm 200 pounds, and that was a matter. So they ran the line through the davits. So on the back of my catamaran, we've got some davits that hold the dinghy. And so I was lifted up out of the water, and eventually I couldn't keep my arms in. So I just fell down like that. So it was kind of a failed exercise. I really wasn't hypothermic, but we thought that there would be a better way. And I think in the next time that perhaps now I have a dinghy, so I'll lower the dinghy and then pull somebody that might be overboard into the dinghy. That's not as good as being on the boat, but at least you can be out of the water, put somebody in a blanket, and also give them a warm beverage. Then the second thing that I got from the Forsbergs was the story of the dove. So this was written by Robin Lee Graham. And so here's a little bit about it. He says that veteran sailors know better than to leave on a Friday. That's one of the superstitions. My nephew, who's a fisherman, does not allow bananas on his boat. So all sorts of superstitions. But here's 3 15-year-olds. They pool their money, and they buy a lifeboat. So this is the type of boat that the Titanic didn't have enough of. So it's 16 feet long. It's made out of aluminum. They can't afford regular caulking, so they buy bazooka bubble gum, chew it, and use that as the caulking. Then they get plywood, and they shape a keel out of plywood, and then they bolt it on the bottom of this aluminum lifeboat. Then they find a boom from a ketch, and that's their mast. And the ketch also had some old sails, and they cut them down to the appropriate size. They used shrouds that they found, stays that they found. So they were rather complete in that particular way. And then they write their parents a letter. So this is in Hawaii. So it's the Pacific Ocean, and they decide they're going to sail from the Big Island to Lanai. Maybe it's called Lanai. I'm not in Hawaii enough. And so they've written, these 3 15-year-olds, they've written their parents they've written their parents a letter. Don't worry, we're going to be okay. We're just sailing over to this other island in Hawaii. And they start out right after school. They run down to the boat, and they start out, and they're about to go beyond the breakwater, and here comes this power boat. But it's just one of their friends, so that's okay. Good luck, good luck. But he says, oh, look, there's small craft warnings. So small craft, it's just like a red pennant. This is hard to see because it's relatively small, but it's basically a red pennant. And they said, well, a lot of times there's small craft warnings and nothing really happens. So they continue on, and after they get out of sight of where the pennants are, a second pennant comes up. So it's a gale warning. So they're out there in this converted lifeboat, and it goes to like a Beaufort scale 8 or 9. So at that way, I just want to share with you what small craft warnings can be like in Hawaii. So one time there were small craft warnings, and I went swimming on the north shore of Kauai, and I had fins on, and I made it out through the breakwaters okay. But coming back in, the wave curled. I was riding the wave, and it curled, and I fell like 8 feet. And then there was all this 8 feet of water on top of me, and it felt like I was in a washing machine in an agitation cycle like that. So I had fins on, so I made it alive, but it's rough swimming in small craft waters. And in gales, you've got high waves, like in between the Hawaiian Islands, it could be 6 meters. It could be like 18 feet. And the sea begins to roll, and foam is everywhere. So they're out there, night falls, and they're bailing until they ache. And here's the parents at home, and they know what the weather is. They got the note, and they hear this particular Coast Guard report. The Coast Guard, this is in the morning, the Coast Guard is conducting an extensive air and sea search for 3 teenage boys. I always get emotional when I read this. Feared lost at sea. So the parents are hearing that. The Coast Guard spokesman reports that because of the extreme weather conditions last night, the chances of their survival in a 16-foot boat are slim. They didn't read this book. This is like the 1962 version that of Piloting and Seamanship and Small Boat Handling by Robert Chapman. And it's been updated. This is one I got in 2010, and it's the 66th edition. And it has all these various sound signals that we'll go over this evening. And all these sound signals and visual signals are also required for the 6-pack license. So 6-pack license is also known as operator of uninspected passenger vessel. So basically with a 6-pack license, you can take 6 paying passengers on your boat. And the Coast Guard has all these rules that many people don't follow, but they are what you have to know to get that particular 6-pack license. Sound signals. There's 2 purposes for sound signals. You've got, I'm alerting you that I'm nearby, and here's my approximate position. And then the other is my status. Now by status, what is meant is, am I making wake or no wake? Am I a RAM, RAM, restricted in ability to maneuver? Am I that type of vessel? Am I towing or being towed? Am I sailing? Am I fishing? So all those things can be conveyed with a foghorn and reduced visibility. So you've got 2 basic signals, a prolonged, which is 5 seconds, and a short, which is 1 second. So would you please practice giving a prolonged 5 seconds? Okay, and now a short 1 second. Oh, okay. So if you're a power boat, and you're making way, you're making wake, it's 1 prolonged. Who here has power boat? So everybody with a power boat, Kenneth, would you reduce visibility? Okay, we're in reduced visibility at this particular time. 1 prolonged for every power boater. Okay, now you're hearing that, and somebody else in this reduced visibility, you're hearing that, so you slow down and you put your engine in neutral. When you put your engine in neutral, the theory is you have more time as a captain, so you give 2 prolonged every 2 minutes, and in between each prolonged, give about 2 seconds. So power boaters, please, you're in neutral. 2 second pause. 2 second pause, okay. Okay, let's get some visibility back, Kenneth.
And how many times do you have to do that?
Well, yeah, every 2 minutes is the frequency. But I was thinking there that I'm going to be sailing in Newport Neck, in Newport, Rhode Island, and it's often foggy there. And you've got all this traffic coming and going. And really, in such circumstances of reduced visibility, when there's lots of boat traffic, I would not be wanting to give signals less than every 2 minutes. So now imagine there that you're a shrimper. So a shrimper has his nets out, and they don't have a lot of maneuverability. Like a shrimper can't go like this, because all his shrimp lines would foul up. So a shrimper is restricted in their ability to maneuver, and we just call that a ram vessel. So a ram vessel has, because nobody's a shrimper here, I think I know that. Because nobody's a shrimper here, let's just practice what you might hear from a ram. So it's going to be prolonged, short, short. A prolonged, once again, is 5 seconds. A short is 1 second. And in between the prolonged, short, short, give 2 seconds. Ready? Go. Tell you the truth, I wouldn't recognize that. But I think you get the general idea. So let's practice. We're a fishing vessel, and a fishing vessel has those long lines. So a fishing vessel can make great maneuverability. So they're also restricted in their ability to maneuver. So let's once again, ready, set. So it's 5 seconds for prolonged, and it will be prolonged, then take a 2-second break. Short, 2-second break, short. Ready, set, go. Stop, stop, start, start. Okay. And one more time, because we're getting better. This time we're a sailing vessel. So this particular sailing vessel has the same signal on the I guess the basic belief that a sailboat also doesn't have the maneuverability of, say, a speedboat. So once again, it'll be 5, prolonged, short, short. Ready? We're closing the door. Go. Stop. Short, short. Okay. Now, if I may. Okay. So now we're a vessel at anchor. So we could be in 10 feet of water. We could be anchoring in 10 feet of water. We're just outside the channel. We're in reduced visibility. Kenneth, give me reduced visibility. So in this particular case, let's ring that bell for 5 seconds. Not everybody has a bell on their boat, so Carol is going to demonstrate an alternative. Ready? So we're going to ring the bell rapidly for 5 seconds. We're at anchor. Ready, set, go. Okay, and that's basically every minute. If you're anchored near the channel in a fog, that might be particularly important. If you think there that this is optional, but if you think there that a boat's coming towards you, and you're worried that there could be a collision, let's get some more light back on. Let's do a short, prolonged, short. Ready? With your foghorns. Short, prolonged, short. Okay, so that's basically, you've already rang your bell, but you're worried that might not be enough. So you give this additional one because you're hearing a boat coming towards you. There's, then you've run aground. So this is worse. Because you can't lift up your anchor and take off, you've run aground. So in this particular case, it's only the bells. But if you have a way to just get a bong out of the bell, do 3 bongs, and then ring the bell rapidly, then 3 bongs. Let's attempt that. Just boom. Okay, now 5 seconds of rapid ringing, and then 3 bongs after. Okay, so that vessel's aground. And if it's as hazardous conditions as I have described, where you've run aground just outside the channel and boats all around you, you might want to do that every minute rather than every 2 minutes. I need 2 volunteers to be boats. Yeah, I need 2 people to come up. Okay.
Do I need my kazoo?
No, you do not.
Sure.
So,
Boat. Is it a sailboat?
yeah, let's do a power boat first. Let's make sure there that let's put the green on starboard and the red on port.
Yeah, oh, yeah, you got it switched.
Port wine is red.
Yeah, port wine is red. And port and, I always remember left. Port and left have the same number.
Okay, now I'm going to pull this back. Ladies, if you would each go to opposite ends of the room, just against this wall. Okay, stop. Now this is a meeting situation. As you come together, start coming together. What before you do, hit your button 3 times, which is on the lights.
Is it my light?
Yeah, flip it over.
Both of them? Oh.
3 times.
Oh. Were they supposed to flash? Yeah, it's not flashing. Oh, there it is.
It's flashing.
There. Nope.
There's the button.
3 times makes it
Oh, okay.
flashing.
Yeah. So 3 times gets it to stop flashing.
So hit the green one again. So it stops flashing.
We didn't know Chris was a flasher. Okay. Now, as they come together, start coming together. This is a meeting. Now, let's suppose they're within 1 point of each other. So 1 point on the compass is roughly equivalent to 11.25 degrees. So as you're coming together, you have to know what you're going to do. So let's suppose there that, like most times, you're going to pass port to port. So you're just like if you're driving on a country road. On a country road, you steer off and you pass on the left side. So as you come together, let's say there that, in this particular case, we're going to pass port to port. So 1 short, give 1 short, everybody with a foghorn, as you pass, come together and pass port to port. 1 short, please. Okay. So that's basically, now about face. So you're facing each other. This time, you can't pass port to port because off to starboard, over there's a shoal. So you're going to have to pass differently. You're going to have to pass turning to port and pass starboard to starboard. So as you do that, passing starboard to starboard, 2 shorts. Signal 2 shorts. Okay. So that's basically the signals when you're meeting head on. And once again, head on, say, within 1 point on the compass. 1 point on the compass is 11.25 degrees. Then, suppose there, 2 power boats are coming. Which one is the privilege vessel, and which one is the stand-on vessel? So, come maybe towards this opening, but stop there. Stop right there. So what you have here.
So we're going to be crossing.
So you're going to be there, and what you have here is basically a constant bearing. They're still at the same angle to each other, but there's diminishing distance. So there's diminishing distance. So somebody is the privileged vessel, and somebody is the giveaway vessel. Now, if you can see on your starboard side the other boat, so you can see on your starboard side the other boat, so you're the giveaway vessel, you're the stand-on vessel, you're the privileged vessel. So you're heading this way, and you give her room, and then you can turn course and go back down this channel. But first you had to give way. Overtaking signals. So ladies, if you would both be on the same side. So Chris, you want to be in the lead?
Oh, sure.
Okay. So you're okay. So as you come this way, but Ellie in her boat is faster.
Oh, she's gonna pass me.
And so she's going to pass you. Now, it could be it could be as you come that you actually are wondering what side to pass on. And so let's say there that Ellie has to decide. So as you come this way, if you're going to pass basically on her starboard side, it's one short. So as you cross the room, Ellie, you pass, and everybody give one short. Okay. And as you come over this side, then do an about face. And this time, you're going to pass on the other side, so give two shorts. Okay. Now in this case, Ellie's boat is proceeding at a slow pace. Go ahead. And
The sailboat.
and Chris in her boat is just zooming along, and Ellie looks back and doesn't see anybody at the wheel. Chris is down there making painkillers.
Dark and stormy.
Dark and stormy. And as Ellie is looking back and seeing Chris coming really fast, she gets worried. And the signal for doubt and danger, D-O-U-B-T, or danger is the same. So Ellie's going to give, all of us, let's give the danger signal 5 shorts. Okay, so you're coming on, okay. Now you're coming up fast, you're still making painkillers, and then you hear that song, you hear that foghorn, and let the forward boat know what you're going to do, what side you're going to pass on. So come back here. So you come up from the galley, and you come up from the galley and quick signal what you're going to do. So let's say there that you're going to pass, leaving her on your port side. Let's give one short. Leave her on your port side. One short, please. Okay, so that's a particular case that could be quite real. Somebody's inattentive. They're pulling a ski boat and they're looking backwards. They're pulling a skier and they're looking backwards, and so that could
always have to have it
yeah.
separate.
So that could be a real circumstance. Now, in this particular case, we're going to be 2 sailboats.
Okay.
So in this particular case, we're going to be 2 sailboats, and a good monohull, a race boat, a sailing monohull, probably has a no-go zone, maybe like 70 degrees. So if you would all just go like this. Okay, that's where I feel the wind. So the wind is coming from you. So that's the purpose of doing that. So we know which way the wind is coming from. It's coming from you this way. So in this particular case, who's got the wind on their starboard side?
Oh, if one's there and one's here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the one coming this way, you're saying?
Chris has the starboard side.
Okay, so you're the stand-on vessel.
Okay.
A way to think about it with sailboats is if Another name for the starboard side is the right side of the boat. And the sailboat on the right side has the right of way. That's how you can remember it.
But your boom will actually be on the opposite side.
So we're talking about so we're talking about where the wind, over what side of the boat is it coming. If it's coming over your starboard side, if it's coming over your right side, you have the right of way. So as you pass, go the way you want to go.
Okay,
So Chris, you're going to go the way you want to go.
And I just have to
And you,
stay out of your
yeah,
way.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Chris, would you come and stand right about where I'm standing? So once again, give me wind. Okay, who's windward and who's leeward? Windward.
Yeah.
Now, in this particular case, the leeward boat is the privileged boat, is the stand-on vessel. And I'll give you two reasons why that might be. It could be there. The lee shore is the more dangerous shore than the windward shore. Why? Because I don't have to worry about the rocks here because I'm being blown away, right? Your wind is blowing me away. But this shore I have to worry about because the wind is blowing me this way onto these rocks. So that's one reason. The other reason is as Ellie gets alongside Chris, she blocks her wind. And in that case, Chris can't point as high. She doesn't have as much maneuverability. So in this particular case, the leeward boat is the privileged boat. Now, it could be there that you've got to come about right away because right there is a rock. So as you turn, let's say there that you're turning here.
And I have to turn that way.
Yeah, but now.
My job, because
Yeah.
you're the privileged one, and I have to.
Also because now the wind is coming over her starboard side. Her right side, she has the right of way. Some of those, I was actually in the British Virgin Islands, and we were tacking. And those catamarans are that you rent from the moorings, that you rent from Dream Yacht Charter, that you rent from Sail Time. They're basically floating condominiums. They're heavy as can be, and rather than the no-go zone on a high-performance monohull that might be 70 degrees, maybe on my boat it's like 90 or 100. On those, it's closer to 140 degrees. So on those 140 degrees, if you're tacking, it's kind of like this. And you just don't make much progress unless you have a current taking you forward.
Well,
So
any catamaran, a beat is not its favorite point.
So that's just kind of a consideration that you have to know your signals in that particular case because nobody in a catamaran that's beating is going to be making much progress. And if they have to give way, they're going to give up everything they made in the last 3 tacks. So as a consequence, they're going to be reluctant. So using your horn signal in that particular case might be much better than trying to reach them on radio when you might not even know the name of the boat. And they may not be monitoring channel 16. So, so the stand-on or privileged vessel has the right of way and maintains the course and speed unless the other vessel fails to take suitable action. So you never have the right of way to go through the center of somebody's boat. In order to avoid a collision, if the give-way vessel fails to act, you have the obligation to do what you can to avoid the accident. So you're in a fog.
Turn off your running lights.
You're in a fog, and you hear long, short, short. So this side of the room, I want to hear long, short, short. Ready? Long, short, short. And then right after they're done, I want to hear this side give me long, short, short, short. That's a long and three, prolonged and three shorts. Okay, so you're the towboat and you're being towed. So, and there's a line between you. So this is an important one in a fog because you don't want to go between the two boats. You don't want to cross somebody's cable. So once again, I'm going to ask you to do prolong, short, short, prolong, short, short. Now, as soon as they're done, give me the tow. 1, 2, 3. So if you hear that, you've got a tow, you got a tug, and you got a boat being towed. And that it wouldn't have to be an official tugboat. It could be a fishing boat or just a power boat that's towing somebody that ran out of gas. So that could be the case. Then that would be about every 2 minutes you might hear that. Now, with one of the salty dogs, I sailed out of Cutty Hunk. Cutty Hunk has this narrow channel. It kind of goes like this and then like this, and you can't see around the bends. So if you can't see around the bends, give a warning signal. And the warning signal is 1 prolonged. So this side, 1 prolonged. Now you hear that and you're in your boat, let them know that you're also coming around the bend, perhaps in the opposite direction. Now, a drawbridge request. So we had trouble actually with our radio. It seemed like it worked fine at times, and then it didn't work. And so we're approaching this drawbridge, and we're calling on the drawbridge. First we call on channel 16, then we call on channel 9, and we can see the operator up in the bridge, and we're getting no response. What we didn't know, what we should have known, is that we can request with our horn a bridge opening. So a bridge opening is a prolonged short with 3 seconds in between. So request a bridge opening. Okay, and now you're the bridge operator. So the bridge operator has to give one of 2 signals, yes or no. So let's give the positive response. Okay, I see you there, I'm gonna open the bridge. So you give the same signal that they just gave. So that's a prolonged, then about a 3 second gap in this particular case, and a short. Go. Okay, now the bridge only, in this particular case, the bridge only opens every half hour, and it's only 15 minutes after. So request a bridge opening, please, with a prolonged, then a 3 second, and 1 short. In this particular case, the danger signal, because if you've got a 60-foot mast and if you've got a 20-foot clearance on the bridge, it's pretty dangerous if that sailboat thinks he's going to go through. So give the danger signal, give the negative response of 5 short. So don't go. That is the same as the danger signal. Now, when you're entering a harbor, say you've been out in Narragansett Bay and you're returning into Newport Neck, and so you're basically looking for the channel, and it's kind of foggy. So one of the things that you can look for is it almost looks like a checkerboard marker. So it's red, white, white, red, red, white. So that's the basic beginning. It's a mid-channel marker, and it marks the entrance to perhaps a significant channel that you want to enter. But it also has a Morse code A flashing, or it can have a Morse code A sounding. So that's, in Morse code it would be dot dash, but we could think of it as short prolonged, then a space, short prolonged. So that you can memorize it, please give me short prolonged. Okay, so I can remember being, maybe I was 19 or so, and I was sailing with my father, and we entered into a fog. It was a little bit rare in New Jersey to be quite as foggy as this, because we couldn't see beyond the bow. And so my father said, well, we'll just sail south and then we'll listen. And we sailed south, and then we heard that Morse code A, and then from there he was able to navigate from buoy to buoy. So that was an important one for us at that particular time. As you're coming in, may I get your assistance? So I want you to be a buoy. So I want you to be 1 and 3, and I'd like you to be buoys 2 and 4. And so maybe you'd be down this aisle. Okay, so this is good. Be on the correct side of the channel. I'm going into the channel at this particular time. So I'm returning this way. I'm returning into the channel.
Are these blinking lights?
I would turn it on.
Just push the button in the middle.
And it'll blink. So, so you're going to be in the channel, on the side of the channel. Now, I'd like you to change places.
So you
Okay.
Red, right, returning.
Red, right, return. So here is buoy number 1, the first buoy. Let's have some distance in between the buoys. So the numbers ascend as you go into the harbor. So we've got 1, I pass by 1, then I pass by 2, then I pass by 3, then I pass by 4, and that's how it proceeds. So that's the way that the channel proceeds. So the red is on your right, red, right, return. The green is on your port side, green to port as you come back to port. So that's, that's what I wanted to do. Thank you.
Red right returning, it only applies in the USA, I think.
That's right.
Well, I thought they kind of got it all synchronized.
No, no, it's still trying to.
Well, that concludes everything that I have with respect to sound signals. I hope there that by actually doing it, you have a greater retention than if you just read it. So thank you all.
What happened to the boys? They didn't survive, the boys?
Oh, and then the rest of the story. Remember Paul Harvey? So Paul Harvey would tell the beginning of the story, and then he would go to a commercial break, and then he'd say, and now the rest of the story. So the rest of the story is that they made it. So they came ashore.
We're back to the dove.
Yeah, so we're back to the Dove. So Robin Lee Graham. So Robin Lee Graham, and there's lots of negative publicity. Well, you know how much it cost us to search for you? We had a helicopter up, we had boats up, all this taxpayer waste of money. And you know what his father said to him? You should have known not to leave on a Friday. And then he goes on so he's 17, a couple years later, and he decides he wants to sail around the world. And at 17.
How far did he make it that first time in the dove?
The first time in that lifeboat, they just made it to Lanea from the Big Island. So
That's a long way.
yeah, that was a long way, and it probably had the parents freaking out. But indeed, the 3 boys made it safely, and that's the rest of the story.
Thank you.